Welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast, your safe space to finally focus on YOU. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your self-care coach for moms, praying wife, and mom of four. And I know that being a Christ-centered mom is such a beautiful calling, but it can be so draining. That's why it's important to make sure you are filling your own cup. On this podcast, we'll discuss practical, holistic self-care strategies to help nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because a mama who fills her own cup pours that back into her family with true peace and joy. Tune in for honest conversations about motherhood and self-care because you matter too. Blessings, mamas, and welcome to episode 4 of the Mom Self-Care Podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about mom guilt. Yes, mom guilt. We all have our different struggles, and I feel like every mom has dealt with mom guilt at one time or another. I am Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your host and self-care coach for moms. So let's get into it. Often as moms, we have feelings about who we are and about the things we do. And sometimes we feel like, or maybe you can relate, maybe you feel like, it's just not enough. Or maybe you're just not enough. So first of all, I want to tell you, you are enough. God created you to be your child or your children's mother. So stop doubting that. But that's what mom guilt is. Mom guilt is you have this expectation. Either you put it on yourself or society, or you feel like society put it on you, and therefore you feel bad. So you feel bad or you feel like you did not meet somebody's expectations. And very often it's unnecessary. There's good mom guilt and there's bad mom guilt, or what I would say is unnecessary mom guilt. For instance, if you were not there for your child, like you should have been, maybe you yelled at them, whatever the case may be, and you feel bad about that. Okay, that's good mom guilt. That's like a checkup, like Chari. Come on now, you know better than that. But if maybe, let's say for instance, with me, I went on a mommycation a few years ago and the mom guilt set in. And then to add on to it, I'm up there trying to enjoy being at the beach because I don't know about y'all, but I love being by the water. But I'm relaxing. I'm doing my journaling. I'm reading. And then I get back to the room. I have my crab legs because I love seafood. Listen, y'all, if you haven't done a mommycation, please do one, even if it's just for one day. But I have my crab legs and then my phone rings and I pick it up and it's my daughter. I love her. She is so sweet. Mommy, how are you doing? Mommy, what you doing? And I'm telling her about what I've been doing. And she said, Mommy, I miss you. I'm like, I miss you too, baby. And then the mom guilt just gets worse and worse. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I actually, because that's how my daughter is, I actually have to make her get off the phone. I actually have to say, okay, baby, mommy has to go now. Okay, I will talk to you later. Okay, I love you. Bye. And so I will say with that, some of the guilt, of course, that just comes with it. You're spending time away from your child, especially if it's new for you, if it's the first time you did it. And so you feel like, you're feeling bad about that. But we often feel that way, or to take it to an extreme, moms will not go on a mommycation or even go out to eat by themselves or buy themselves something. Can y'all relate to that? Or buy themselves something because, oh my gosh, I'm neglecting my children. And I just want to stop right there and say that neglect means you are not properly taking care of your children. So is you buying something for yourself, or you going out to eat, or you having a mommycation, you neglecting your children? No, it's actually you pouring into yourself so that you can be more fulfilled, more happy, more filled with joy, so that you can better take care of your children. So I just want you to think about making that mindset shift. If you ever feel bad about something and you feel like you're neglecting your children, ask yourself, am I not properly taking care of my child because I am doing fill in the blank? If the answer is no, then that mom guilt you're feeling is unnecessary. So buy yourself that cute dress. Take yourself out to eat. Go have some fun. Go spend some time with your girls. Whatever the case may be. Go do that because it's going to help you take better care of yourself, of course, self-care, that's what this podcast is about, as well as take care of your children. So you're not serving from a place of exhaustion, but you're serving from a place of abundance. So we want to make that mindset shift. There's so many different things that cause mom guilt. So you have to figure out what that is for you. Is it you're comparing yourselves to other moms? You're looking online and saying, oh, I wish I could be like her. Just a quick reminder that social media is people's highlights. You do not know everything that's going on behind closed doors. So stop that. I can't remember who said it, but the quote goes, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is a thief of joy. So if you find yourself comparing yourself to somebody and you start feeling down about yourself, say, wait a minute, you're not taking my joy. You're not taking my joy. And I thought this was so funny when I was writing down the information, just thinking about mom guilt. I was like, man, you can have mom guilt if you work outside of the home because you feel like you're missing things. Or you can have mom guilt if you work in the home or if you're a stay-at-home mom. So it's like we all have our different struggles. So figure out for you, what is it that is causing mom guilt? And that was just, what did I give? Maybe 3, and there's so many more. So figure that out. And that's important because when you start to have those thoughts, as I'm going to share in a minute, you want to attack those thoughts and say, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And then mom guilt, it can cause so many different things. It can cause withdrawal. You withdraw from your family. It can cause depression. If you let it really become a cycle in your life, which a lot of moms have, it can cause depression, low self-confidence, not feeling like you're good enough as a mom in the things that you do as a mom, or low self-esteem, not feeling good about who you are. And again, it can cause a lot of other things. It can even cause sleep problems. Have you ever done this? I know I have, where you're laying awake thinking about, oh my gosh, all the mistakes I made. Man, I wish I could have did. Man, why didn't I? Man, you might find yourself waking up from your sleep throughout the night and realizing you were even dreaming about it. Isn't that crazy? But that's what can happen when things overtake our mind that really should not. And in case you didn't notice, I'm a mama, and there's so many moms. I wish I was live somewhere so I could see live comments, so you could see how many moms deal with mom guilt. So I don't want you to feel like, I feel guilt and then feel bad about feeling the guilt. That's just a vicious cycle. You are not alone in this, but there is a better way to deal with it. And I'm going to share some of those ways with you. I was doing a release mom guilt masterclass, and we were doing it on Zoom, and I had moms because I like my trainings to be interactive. So I had the moms go into breakout rooms and talk about what was causing mom guilt for them. And then when we came back, I said, hey, ladies, would you mind sharing what was your big takeaway, or what do you feel is causing you the most mom guilt? And several moms were open to share, and they said, I'm trying to be perfect. I feel like I'm trying to be perfect, trying to be a perfect mom. And I said, oh my gosh, I said, y'all, that is so good. That is so good. Because again, when you realize what it is, you cannot address something that you won't face or you don't really know how to put words to. So when several of the moms said, I'm trying to be perfect, I realized that that's something I need to address more, because guess what? I don't know anybody perfect but Jesus. I don't know any perfect human beings. As a matter of fact, I asked them in another training I was doing, I said, how many perfect moms do you know? I'll wait. And I don't know about you, but I don't know any. And in the comments, all I saw was none, zero, zero, none, nobody. So that lets you know that there is nothing such as a perfect mom. But when you're trying to be perfect, guess what? Speaking of vicious cycles, you're trying to reach something that you cannot achieve. And when you don't achieve it, then you feel what? Guilt. And then you keep trying to achieve that and you keep feeling guilty. And some people go through this their whole lives, never feeling satisfied or happy with who they are because they're trying to be perfect. And there's so many different reasons for that. You could be saying, I don't want to be like my mom was, or my father was, or I don't want to be this type of person, or I want to give my kids everything that I didn't have. But guess what? Your children are not you. If you guys have not looked up the book or have not read the book, Five Love Languages, check it out. And I'm saying that because you may feel like, oh, I want to give them all these things that I didn't have when I was growing up. Because when I was growing up, we was broke. But your child's love language may be quality time. So you're out making money, buying things, giving it to them. And they're like, this. And they may never tell you that or may not tell you until they're grown. But what I needed from you was for you to spend time with me. Or maybe it could be the opposite. You want to spend time with them, and not that they don't want to spend time with you, but that's not necessarily their love language. Maybe their love language is gifts. And there's other love languages such as acts of service and things like that. Or it could be with you trying to be perfect. I don't want my kids to ever see me being weak or ever see me crying or different things like that. But guess what? When you are weak, that is the time that God can show up and show out in your life. And your kids need to see that. They need to see that mommy's human. And then they need to see God come in and deliver so that they know that they can do the same. And they also need to see that it's okay to cry. We talk about how we're trying to get men to understand it's okay to feel your feelings and okay to express their feelings, but the same applies to us as women. Our children need to be able to see, okay, mommy's angry or mommy's sad. This is how she handles it in a healthy way. But they will never have that example if you're doing it behind closed doors. So it's important for you to, for the sake of connection, if just for the sake of connection with your kids, to stop trying to be perfect and be human. We cannot connect with and relate to people who are perfect. You know, some people are like, oh, she holier than thou. She don't never do nothing wrong. That's kind of an example. But if you know somebody who is a Christian and you've seen them struggle and you've seen them overcome, then you're like, oh, I can relate, girl. Stop trying to be perfect. God does not want you to be the perfect mom. He just wants you to be the best mom that you can be for your kids. And she's going to make mistakes and she's going to mess up because we all do. So change your expectations for yourself and the rest of your family. Don't expect that your kids are going to act perfectly because they won't. Who knows? I do. That your kids are going to mess up. We have to work on disconnecting their actions from our parenting skills. So in other words, you may parent them very well on something and they still go and do what they want to do. How many of us, God has taught us something. We read the scriptures, Bible studies, went to church, learned the lessons, but guess what? We went and did what we wanted to do and had to learn the hard way. Our kids are going to do the same thing. They're just like us. We were kids once. Don't forget that you were a child once as well. And next is show yourself grace. So as I've said over and over, you're human. You're human first. You're a woman first. And you're a mom. But you're going to make mistakes. As long as we are on this earth, God is working on us. Right? As long as our children are on this earth, God is working on them. So when you mess up, show yourself grace and just say, Chari, I forgive you. Tiffany, I forgive you. Felicia, I forgive you. But how am I going to do better the next time? So how you get out of that cycle of mom guilt and feeling bad is to stop harping on it. Stop focusing on it. Acknowledge it. Feel those feelings. And then say, hey, I forgive you. And how am I going to do better the next time? So am I going to get enough sleep? Am I going to eat enough food so I'm not so irritated that I lash out at my kids? What are you going to do the next time? But just remember, again, show yourself grace. God shows you grace. So show yourself grace as well. You show your kids grace, your husband, if you're married, your friends, your family, show yourself grace too, because you are a part of your family. So show yourself grace as well. And then lastly, challenge those negative thoughts. When you have those thoughts of, I'm not a good enough mom, or I don't know if I can do this, or God, are you sure? And I'm laughing because, listen, why am I laughing, y'all? Because I have asked God, are you sure? Even doing this podcast, I'm like, are you sure? But whenever you have those negative thoughts, seriously, because we all have negative thoughts, that's just how our brains are wired. But we have to rewire them by being intentional about holding those thoughts captive, about saying, wait a minute. The Bible tells us to do that, to take those thoughts captive and make them obedient to Christ Jesus. So we have to start questioning those thoughts, even if we've had them for 40 years. Wait a minute, I'm not a good enough. What? Is my child healthy? Is my child thriving? Yes. So I'm a good mom. I'm an amazing mom. God created me for this. Start saying affirmations that are positive every time. And yes, it may be all times throughout the day. Maybe you need to say it out loud to help you. Write it down. I just made like a little section on my wall with affirmations in my office. Now they're business related, but you can apply that personal affirmations, business affirmations, whatever. But challenge those thoughts and start to say the opposite. And just like you've had those negative thoughts, possibly for, as I said before, 40 years, 20 years, it's going to take time for you to change those thoughts to positive ones. But you have to be intentional about it and you have to be consistent. Like I said, put it on your wall, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your mirror, whatever the case may be. But something to remind you. Even do a voice note in your phone where you're saying affirmations that you can listen to throughout the day while you're driving. But be intentional about shifting your mindset. That's what all of this boils down to. Moms tell me they don't have time for self-care, but I know when you dig deep, the real issue is you don't believe you're worthy enough. Because you don't play about your kids' self-care. You don't play about making sure they know how to set healthy boundaries, do what they want to do, get the things that they love. You don't play about that. But when you shift your mindset and start to say, I'm not going to play about me. I'm not going to play about myself and my self-care. Then guess what? Your actions follow that. And even if it's something small, like a few minutes a day, that can make such a huge difference. It can make such a huge difference. And so just to recap, I gave you guys a bunch of goodies this time. Oh my goodness. When you're feeling mom guilt, it's because there's expectations that you feel aren't being met. So create realistic expectations. Stop trying to be perfect because that's not realistic. But say to yourself, how can I show up like I want to and still feel like I've done enough? And then show yourself grace. So when you make those mistakes, forgive yourself. Don't focus on it and harp on it, but say to yourself, yes, I made that mistake. I'm feeling some kind of way, but I forgive you. I forgive you, Chari. I forgive you, Carla, because I'm human. I make mistakes. Okay. How am I going to do better next time? And then lastly, challenge those negative thoughts. So when you have that negative thought of, I'm a bad mom. No. Is that in line with Christ? No. So hold those thoughts captive, take them captive. Say, no, that is not the truth. I'm an amazing mom. I just made a mistake. I am not my mistakes. So work on shifting your mindset. And if you need more help digging into releasing mom guilt, I have a course called Releasing Mom Guilt, where I take you step by step. I share these steps and more to help you really let go, y'all, to let go of that guilt that you've been holding on that's been a burden in your life. And you can grab that course by going to www.cicinspireme.com. When I mentioned before about us going into the Zoom room and discussing mom guilt, this is a course I was talking about. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me for episode 4 of the Mom Self-Care Podcast. Make sure that you share this with your friends, save it, and subscribe. And leave a review if you enjoyed the episode too. Until next time, take care. God bless. Thanks so much for joining me for the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to make yourself a priority too. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Share this podcast with another mama you love and leave a review. Also, feel free to let me know what you would like to hear about in future episodes by visiting me on Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. Until next time, Take some time to take care of YOU because you matter too.